So, I decided to do a third one because I had an idea for like how to do one more story of these, but that's it. I'm just making a trilogy. That's we've gone as far as we can go with this idea. I don't think I could wring out another idea for the Primarch Korra storyline. But yes, so this story is basically before in the first story it was her in the Great Crusade. The second story is about her time in the Horus Heresy, and now it's time for the return back into into the main 40k universe. So, or 40k timeline, I should say. It's a better term. So yeah, to catch up everybody, Primarch Korra is a series of stories where it's a Legend of Korra Warhammer 40k AU story where in this universe, Korra is the 11th Primarch. She was created as the only female Primarch of the Emperor because he basically got the idea after Malkador had that whole thing of like, you should have made them all women. He's like, nah, it's not. What if I made one of them a girl? So Korra became the leader of her planet called Elementus. She was found by the Emperor. She never acknowledged the Emperor as her father. She acknowledged him as a creator and her leader. She fought in the Horus Heresy, where she actually, while it was Omegon who was killed in, killed by, I think, it was Rogel who killed him, but everyone thought that was Alfarius. Turns out it was Omegon, and Korra killed Alfarius and also bombarded Conrad's planet for what he and Alfarius did to her world. So there, and also I'd like to make a quick statement. I completely forgot that what happened to Rogel Dorn was in the Scouring and not the Horus Heresy. That was on me. Although you can't blame me. There's 55 fucking books. I can't keep track of all of the Horus Heresy, okay? So that's an oopsie on my part, but yeah. What she also did, we are going to keep, though, that she did actually find Rogel and put him in a stasis to heal from his wounds over time, but the chamber was misplaced during a chaos attack. So now she doesn't know where Rogel is, but she knows he's alive. Anyway, so by the end of the story, Korra, after defeating Conrad, she was just kind of broken by the whole thing. Between the heresy and the Scouring, she was just exhausted, and she and her fleet, her legion, the Ursa Majors, she was like, I'm going to the far edges of the galaxy, and be like, yeah, we're going to protect humanity, and like maybe we'll come back someday. Who knows? There's a reason why. There's a different reason. We'll get to that in a bit. So now we've moved 10,000 years further into the timeline, and Korra is suddenly jolted awake, after feeling asleep for so long. She felt like she'd been in a long dream, and the first face she sees is Trazyn the Infinite, and Trazyn's like, "Oh, good, you're awake. Thank God. Thank the gods or whatever fucking thing you religious people follow. Listen, I need your help." And that's when, Korra's first reaction is just like, Xeno! Stabs Trazyn in the chest. He has to, body jump to another Necron. He's like, okay, don't do that again, please. And she's like, who are you and what? It's like, where's my legion? Where are my sons? And and Trazyn is like, I'll wake them all up, but I had to wake you up first because we've got a bit of a problem. It seems I have some uninvited guests at my place, and I kind of need an army to back me up here. So Korra discovers that she is in the tomb world of Solus, and her legion is in stasis, in stasis lock. I know there's a different word for that, and I'm just paraphrasing it. But yeah, he wakes them up. They all freaked out, but they're like, mother, what happened, mother? And Korra's like, my sons, I don't know what's going on, but this Xeno is going to explain why we've been kidnapped. And he's like, I will explain everything to you guys once you deal with the problem. And they're like, what problem do you have that requires, Space Marines and a Primarch? And that's when the doors blow open, and it's the fucking Thousand Sons, led by Magnus. And Korra's like, Magnus. Because she knows he's still it's a traitor, and the Thousand Sons are traitors as well. So Korra is like, I will deal with you in a minute, Trazyn. What's your name? Yeah, Trazyn the Infinite. And she's like, I'll deal with you in a minute, Trazyn. I'm going to deal with my brother first. So the Ursa Majors and the Thousand Sons, alongside some of Trazyn's Necron forces, fight the Thousand Sons while Korra goes to confront Magnus. And she's like, brother, the first thing I didn't want to see was you. I wanted to see my brothers again, but you weren't one of them. And he's like, that wounds me after so long. It's been 10,000 years, Korra. And that's what Korra, like, freezes up. And she's like, what? And he's like, oh, sister. You don't know, do you? How long did he keep you? How long did Trazyn the Infinite keep you? You've been nothing more than a collector piece to him. And I'm so happy. Believe me when I tell you, I actually am happy to see you. There's so much that has changed, and I can't wait to show you. Tell your legions to lay down your arms, and we can pilfer what knowledge we need from Solus, and I will tell you everything about what happened after you departed. And Korra has this quick moment of she's locked for a moment because she's like, there's no way. Like, there's no way that Magnus is telling the truth. But she gets over it when Magnus tries to attack her again, and Korra, being a psyker as well, her powers come through the elements. She fights him, but Magnus points out, I was always a strong, you may be a psyker, a gifted psyker in your own right, but you were never on my level, Korra. And she's like, I don't need to be on your level in terms of psyker energy. I just need to be better at combat. And Korra then proceeds to draw her sword and go at Magnus directly, wounding him, grievously wounding him, and as he's wounded, he's backing up. He's like, this, I won't die, right? I'll just come back after the warp. And she's like, good enough, good. You can tell the others I'm coming for them next. And just fucking stabs Magnus through the chest. He goes, he flees back to the warp. The Thousand Sons are routed. And once that's done, Trazyn's like, oh god, look at the mess you all made. Ugh, I should have woke up the other Space Marines. Then it wouldn't have been a problem. And that's when Korra grabs Trazyn, pins him against a wall, and is like, you are going to tell me everything, Xeno. And he's like, I'll tell you everything, just can you stop with the Xeno thing? It feels really racist. So Trazyn explains that yes, I did acquire you all, kidnapped, semantics. I acquired you all when you were all leaving to the far edges of the galaxy. I came upon you, and I had been watching this whole Horus Heresy, as history has called it. And I collected you because I didn't have a Primarch in my collection, and you had your entire Space Marine Legion with you, unbroken from the no successor chapters. You had your entire Legion intact. It's amazing. I didn't think that was possible. So I couldn't say no and collected you, and honestly, for the better. If you weren't here, Magnus would have stolen all of my all of my things. I've collected more than just people, I've collected a lot of shall we say, impressive weaponry. And she's like, that doesn't surprise me. Magnus was always kind of seeking knowledge, and you just stole me, and you now owe me, Trazyn. Do any of my aside from Magnus, are any of my brothers alive? And he's like, well, I have heard stories. I've heard that Fulgrim's still alive. Angron's still alive. I have heard whispers that Alfarius, or whatever they've been saying at the Alpha Legion, and she's like, no, Alfarius is fucking dead. Trust, I took his head. And she's like, and Trazyn's like, damn, I really wanted another Primarch collection. Oh well. And and Korra gets the assumption that, so you're telling me, and she's like, what about the brothers who fought for the Imperium? My brothers who fought alongside me, Jagatai, Rogel, Lion, any of them, are they alive? And he goes, no one knows where they are. They all kind of vanished. And she's like, no, I'm alone. And he goes, I didn't say that. I have heard that one of your brothers is still around. And she's like, you better tell me you're not lying. He's like, no, I don't lie. Your brother Roboute is still alive. Your brother Roboute Guilliman. And she's like, Roboute, I'm not alone. I need to go tell me where I can find him. And he's like, well, I don't know where he is right now. And she's like, is the Imperium still alive? He's like, it's clinging on. Your brother has been launching this thing called the Indominus Crusades, and he's been out there fighting the good fight. I met him a few times. I took some of his Space Marines, but I'm sure he's fine with it. He had more than enough. And she's like, so Roboute and the Imperium are still alive? And he's like, yeah. So anyway, back to the collection, and that's before he manages to stop her. He's like, she puts his sword to his throat and like, I'm going to leave with my legions now, and you are going to let me go, or I will start killing every single version of you that shows up until there's nothing left. Then I'm going to break everything in your precious archives. And he's like, I can see you're upset, and you did a really good job at, holding back Magnus and his sons. So how about I let you go as a thank you? Be honored, I never let my things go. And she's like, that's the right answer. And as she's leaving, she sees something in the collection, and it's Fulgrim's clone, and she's like, what the fuck are you doing with that? And he's like, oh, Fabius Bile gave me that as a collector's piece. It's not, I'm sure you're aware that isn't really your brother. And she's like, my brother died a long time ago. That's a facsimile. He's like, do you want me to wake it up so you can unpack some trauma with it? And she's like, shut the fuck up. So Korra, they get their ships back, because Trazyn took everything. They get all of their ships, and they leave Solus to go find Roboute. They head out to find Guilliman. Meanwhile, so Trazyn's like, he's sitting in his throne room, in his throne room, he's just like, I'm too nice. So, along with, the space, Korra, after finding out Trazyn took everything, it wasn't just the Space Marines he took the ships, he took the weapons, he even took their ship fleets, and they're all been in stasis. So Asami, her fleet commander, and also her main squeeze, they're all okay, and they're like, Korra has to sit everyone down and explain to them, it's like, look, Trazyn, we've been gone for 10,000 years. He's kept us in stasis for 10,000 years as art collective, as art pieces, and now we are, so far along. But I'm here to tell you, the Imperium is still alive, and while most of my brothers are gone or fall into chaos, my brother Guilliman, Roboute Guilliman, is still out there fighting the fight. We're gonna go find him, and if my other brothers are still alive, we'll find them too. We're going to make the Imperium better than what the Emperor had. I'm sorry, I can't, to the crew, I'm sorry, all of your family is turned to dust by now, but I promise you, the Imperium is still here, and we are still here, and we will continue to fight for the Imperium, because that hasn't changed. We are still warriors of the Imperium. And you are, and I am still your lord. So, Korra, and her fleet, they head out. Now, keep in mind, remember, during the Horus Heresy, her chapter master, Mako, was killed, and Bolin is still alive, and he's, still dealing with his brother's death, and Korra's like, I need a new chapter master, and Bolin's like, oh, it cannot be me, ma'am. And she's like, no, I think you've earned I've seen you in battle. I've seen you lead troops alongside your brother, and if there's anyone I can trust now to help me lead the Ursa Majors in case we run into Magnus again, or Fulgrim, or any of my brothers, or of my corrupted brothers, it's going to be you, and I need help. And he's like, yeah, but you're the Primarch. You're a great leader. You defeated Conrad. You blasted his planet. And she's like, I don't want to talk about that. He's like, my lord, I know I shouldn't question you, but, like, what happened when you confronted Conrad when we were carrying out that mission on Nocturna? And she's just like, when I beat Conrad in an inch of his... when I was beating Conrad senseless, when I was pummeling him as I was distracting him and blasting away the Night Lord, having you glass the planet, he laughed. He was going to do it anyway. I was doing him a favor. And the only thing that made it sweeter was that I gave into my anger. I gave into my rage. I had, like, my anger... I thought I was going to get the one-up on my on Conrad. And after killing Alfarius, I thought I had, you know, and taking away the planet that I thought Conrad fought so, you know, goddamn hard to make into, like, his own private kingdom. I was doing him a favor. He did it anyway. I was doing his work for him. And now, and that's why I left. I didn't leave because that's why I ordered us to leave. I was so ashamed of myself for giving into my anger and, you know, my grief and everything else. I shouldn't have just done that. We weren't going out to the far reaches of the galaxy to, like, find ourselves, then come back to the Imperium when it was at a golden age. I wanted to keep running. So Bolin, like, that's when he accepts, like, hey, I will accept the duty as chapter master. So, that's so yeah. So, Korra and the others are searching for, you know, any Imperium, and keep in mind, they're working with ships that are, like, 10,000, like, considered 10,000 years old, but they're working brand spanking new. So when they encounter, and they've never encountered some things out in the galaxy, the Necrons being one, but they do know one thing that shows up, and it's a craft world, and they're like, Eldar, and sure enough, it's Eldrad, and Eldrad she knows because he helped during the Horus Heresy, and she's like, I know that craft, that's Eldrad, I need to go speak, like, and she sends, like, a message to him, and the other soldiers are like, ma'am, he's a Xeno. Like, should we speak with him? And after everything that happened with Trazyn, and she's like, I know Eldrad. He may be a knife-eared asshole, but at least he'll give me some answers. Maybe he's seen Roboute. So, she does make contact, and Eldrad is like, wow, I wasn't expecting... I thought you were dead. After this, what happened... I thought you were fucking dead. And she's like, I need help, Eldrad. I know, and he's like, oh, you need help. Your brother asks me for help all the time. She's like, yes. I need your help of finding Roboute. Have you made contact with him? And he's like, yeah, we've spoken a few times. We may not see eye to eye, but we're on good terms. He was in the midst of... the last I had heard, he was headed back to McCrag, and she's like, of course he's going back to his home world. Has there been any word of my other brothers? I encountered Magnus, but can you tell me if you've heard any news of my brothers? Rogel, Lion, have you heard of them? And she's like, and Eldrad's like, I wish I could tell you, but I've not heard any word of them. If you want, I can point you in the direction of where the Ultramarines were last seen. And she's like, no, I'm going straight to McCrag. So, as they're headed there, they just, they overhear, conversation, communication of, distress signals from the Imperium, and it's a colony world that is under attack by the Tyranids. And they're like, it's Tyranid invasion. It's like, what's a Tyranid? And she's like, I don't care. Our people are in danger. It's time to remind the galaxy why they feared the bear, because that's what she called herself, was the bear. And again, the Ursa Majors. So her and her Ursa Majors go down to the planet, and they start fighting Tyranids. And the Tyranids are like, who the fuck is this? Because, like, the hive mind's never encountered... Like, she's... Like, for a brief second, the hive mind is like, oh, haven't encountered this legion before. And even the people of the hive city are like, you know... And the Astra Militarum are, like, in awe of... Are, like, in absolute awe of seeing... Of seeing a Primarch and the Space Marines that they've never heard before, but they know Korra. She's known as the War Mother, and that after helping fight back against the Tyranids, she goes to speak to the city and the governors, and they're like, Korra's like, I understand that you locked out all these civilians and kept our soldiers from getting back into the city for defenses. And he's like, well, I was putting up the shields too. And she's like, you were putting up the shields to protect yourselves, Governor. And he's like, I don't have to answer to you, the War Mother, the Great Bear. You've been dead. No one believes you, but no one believes you're real if you say who you are. The only Primarch is Roboute Guilliman. And I think you're a fraud. He's like mocking her half sentence and just starts choking him. And she's like, who are you, Governor? And he goes, Governor, Governor Wu, ma'am. And she's like, Governor Wu, be thankful I'm not breaking your neck. And she drops him. And meanwhile, all, like, the peasantry... She sees all, like, the normal citizens and even guardsmen are, like, kneeling before her. And she's like, oh, this feels wrong. Get up, get up. And she's like, but you're the daughter of the Emperor. You're one of the Emperor's angels. And they're like, and they keep saying God Emperor. And he's like, oh. And Korra's like, oh. Oh, no. We fell backwards. Fuck. And Korra's like, the Emperor's not a god. What are you talking about? And they're like all confused, and she's like, and Bolin's like, hey, my lord, maybe not talk about that right now. We don't need that. We don't need extra, like, because he's already seeing, like, they're getting upset, and he's like, maybe not do that right now. So they all, like, stop talking. Like, she's like, I'm sorry, it's been a long travel and I am tired. I'm headed to Macragge to speak with my brother. Can any of you, do any of you need medical attention? Do any of you need food? So after getting everyone squared away, they're about to leave when multiple ships start flashing in. They all just start flying in, and they're all like, oh shit, and they're like, it's Imperium ships, and she's like, that doesn't make it better. So it is the Ultramarines. The Ultramarines have arrived, and Roboute Guilliman is among them, and she's like, well, here we go. And Guilliman lands and sees his sister, and he's like, sister, and she's like, brother. And they, like, there's no, like deep talk or whatever. They just, like, hug. And she's like, I'm brother. And Guilliman's like, tell me you're not some clone or some trick by the Eldar or some monster created by the Tyranids. And she's like, no, it's me. It's me, Roboute. And they're all just, like, almost in tears. And everyone's like, are they gonna cry? And Guilliman's like, for so long, I have had to fight alone. But now you're here. I don't have to fight anymore. This burden these crusades, I don't have to do them alone anymore. And she's like, no, brother, you don't. We're going to save the Imperium together. But why did you come here? She's like, I came here to fight the Tyranids, but I also heard rumors of one of our other brothers still alive. And she's like, another still alive? And she's like, Lion. And she's like, oh, could be worse. Like, she has that moment of, oh, not my favorite pick, but sure, it's better than Magnus or anyone else. And she's like, like, Roboute tells her, like, I was going to find here. I heard rumors of Lion still being alive, and I can't believe it's you too. When I saw those ships, when I heard about the Ursa Majors, I thought it was some horrible plant, that it was some trick. But you're here. My sister lives. And she's like, we're gonna go find Lion together, and then we're gonna go find Rogel. And she's like, and Roboute's like, Rogel? And she's like, I saved him after Angron's attack. I don't know where his pod went, but I left him alive. I can only hope that he's alive. Then we'll find Lehman and Jagatai, and we are going to bring the Imperium back, and we are going to finish what we started during the heresy. So, and they're like, they head off together, and Korra, like, then tells her, like, why she left after her fight with Conrad, and he's like, you have nothing to be sorry for, sister. What matters now is that we are together, and we are going to fight for the Imperium. And she's like, what if it's too far gone? And he goes, only in death does our duty end. And we'll see it to the end. So there you go, guys. That is that's the story. I don't think I'll do a part 4. I really don't think there's much to say. I just kind of thought I'd end it on a hopeful note. But yeah, I want to thank everyone for enjoying these stories. They were a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed doing them. I know they're pretty long, but yeah, I think it's like telling the whole story is kind of worth it. But anyway, so you guys tell me in the comments below, what did you guys think of the final chapter of the Primarch Korra trilogy I just suddenly made? It was going to be 2 parts, now it's a trilogy. Just comment below, let me know. Other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.